The type of brining that I do is called a dry brine. Hi, it's great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to be making a whole fryer chicken, and I brine my chicken and my turkey the exact same way, so I thought I would share it with you today. The type of brining that I do is called a dry brine. I don't use any liquids at all. I use the juice from the bird to make the meat juicy. So the idea is that all of the salt that we're going to use will pull all the juice out, and once the meat is dry, it will absorb that juice back in, and it'll be flavored and tasty. To start our brine, we're going to start with kosher salt. We're going to use about a half a cup of kosher salt. And this will be the main ingredient for your brine. This will be like your, I guess you'd say, brining agent. So we're going to put that in a bowl. And now these herbs and spices, you can use whatever you like. This is what I use, and so this is what I'm showing you. I like to use a tablespoon of crushed rosemary, a tablespoon of rubbed sage. Then I use a half a teaspoon of paprika and a half a teaspoon of celery salt, because there's already a lot of salt in there, but I like the celery flavor. And 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder and onion powder. Oops. Okay, and then we're going to take a fork and we're just going to mix that all up. Fork, whisk, whatever. Spoon, doesn't matter. And let's add some black pepper to it as well. Just a pinch. And when you're all done, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to want some kind of pan. I'm using this aluminum pan. But you know, a cookie sheet with a nice little wall on it'll work, or a cake pan, or just whatever you have that you can put the bird into. And you can make your turkey this exact same way. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is we're going to cut this backbone out. Okay, now that we have our backbone out, we're going to turn our bird over. Okay, so it's going to look like that. So then what we're going to do is cut off the thighs. And the wings. When you cut your meat, you want to make sure that you find the joint. That's the easiest place to cut it. So, in between the skin and the meat is this thin lining. Okay, you're going to want to separate that. Try not to take your skin off if you can help it, but just separate it, that lining, from underneath the skin, like so. Okay, and that's your breast right here. And that's your chicken breast. You're going to want to do that with all of your chicken. You're going to want to just separate that lining as much as you can to get that brine in there on the meat. We're going to let this sit in the fridge for 3 days. And the idea is that the salt will draw out all of the juice from the meat, all of that delicious, flavory juice from the meat. And you're going to have all of those delicious herbs and everything in that salt. And then when the dry meat reabsorbs the juices, it will be very flavorful. Okay, so there's our meat. And you're going to take a good handful. You're just going to rub it in there. Rub it all over that meat. See all that salt? And this is the same way that you would do a turkey. The exact same way. A turkey is a little bigger, so I would suggest breaking the bird first, like you have your whole bird, smash it down, and then cut your backbone out. That would make it a lot easier for a bigger bird like that. You could put a little bit on the skin too. And don't forget to season underneath as well. Again, I know it seems like it's a lot of salt. You need that much salt to draw out all of the juice. And then we'll just place it in our pan. We'll take our thigh here, our leg quarter, and do the same thing. Now, this is just a little 5-pound chicken. If you have like a 20-pound turkey or, a bigger bird, then you'll want to adjust your spices and salt to, fit your bird. But this is just a really good basic dry brine. And like I said, what we're going to do is we're just going to let it soak in the fridge for 3 days. So when I make my turkey, I always start 6 days ahead because it takes a few days to let it thaw out, and then it takes 3 days to brine it. So it always takes a few days. So I will actually be pulling my turkey out here pretty soon, within the next couple of days, to let it start drying, to let it start thawing out. So this is what it'll look like. We'll take some plastic wrap and cover it up. Now we'll stick it in the fridge for 3 days. Our chicken has been brining for a couple of days now, so let's take a look at it. This is what it looks like after brining for about 2 days. And so now we're going to put it in our roasting pan. Now we're going to roast this at 400 degrees. I got my oven preheating now. And the difference between roasting and baking is the temperature. Anything below 400 degrees is considered baking. 400 degrees and above is considered roasting. Now you can do this with your turkey as well. It takes a little bit longer, and I would recommend letting your turkey actually sit in the refrigerator for the full 3 days because it's a bigger bird and it has a lot more meat. But a chicken is good. You can do it overnight, or you could do it 2 days or 3 days. I did mine for about 2.5 days, and she's ready to go. She's nice and juicy already, and we're just going to pop her in the oven at 400 degrees. And it's going to take about between 15 and 20 minutes a pound. We'll keep checking her with the thermometer, and we want the breast meat to be 165 and the thigh meat to be 175. Dark meat has a higher fat content, so it takes a little bit longer to cook all the way through to the bone. So that's why we're going to temp her at 175. And the breast is white meat, so it doesn't have as much fat content to it, so it doesn't need such a high temperature to be done. Also, because we're going to be cooking it so much faster, there's no need to cover it with foil or anything, unless you start to see it burning or getting a little more crispy than what you like. Otherwise, cooking it at a higher temperature like that will cook it faster, and it will allow the skin to become like this nice, flavorful, crispy, crunchy covering. I would personally recommend baking it in a roasting pan with a rack in it, only to allow the hot air to get under the chicken as well, or the turkey, whichever. But if all you have is just, and you're cooking a turkey and all you have is one of those big aluminum roasting pans, that's fine too. It is. It's fine either way. I would just recommend a rack, but it doesn't matter. You can cook it, in a cake pan if that's all you have. Lord knows I've done that many times. We'll go ahead and pop her in the oven. It will give you a definite time because every bird is different. So rough average is like 15 to 20 minutes per pound. So yeah, let's get her in the oven and get her cooking and see what we come up with. Okay, so let's make some roasted potatoes and sweet rolls to go with this chicken. For sweet rolls, the first thing we're going to do is get a cup of warm milk. You want it to be at least right around 110 degrees. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of dry active yeast. We're going to mix it in there. The recipe calls for a 1/3 cup of sugar. We're going to add just a little bit in here just to help get that yeast going. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pour our milk in. Okay. Our 5 tablespoons of melted butter. The rest of our sugar, which is a 1/3 cup total. 1 teaspoon of salt. And 1 egg that's at room temperature. You want your egg to be at room temperature. Mine is from the coop, so. And then much like the English muffins I showed you how to make in my previous video, we're going to add about 4 cups of flour, and we're going to do them one at a time and incorporate between each cup. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. The dough is going to start getting really hard to mix. So if you have like a stand mixer with a paddle or something, that would be a little easier, I'm sure. But I don't, so I do all of my stuff like this by hand. Okay, as it starts to get too stiff for hand mixing, then let's go ahead and knead it for a little bit. Generously flour our countertop. Pour it out. Okay. Now this recipe calls between 4 and 5 cups of flour. So what I like to do is count that last cup as like flour that you would use to knead it with. Right? And again, just like our muffin dough, we want it to be tacky. It's a nice tacky dough. Try it again. There we go. That's what we want to see. See it bounce right back? That's what we want. Okay. I already have my bowl oiled with some olive oil. Give that a little twist. We will put a dish towel over this and let it rise for about an hour or so, just until it doubles in size. Okay, so let's make some of these roasted potatoes. These are some of my favorite. This is some of my favorite way to cook them. We're just gonna peel it. I got a really big russet. I really like to use Yukon Gold for this because they seem to cook up a little faster and they're a little softer. But any potato will do. Red, Yukon Gold, russet, whatever. I got this. I got this recipe from Emerald Lagasse. He's that cook that says "bam" whenever he gets done cooking. I used to just watch him just because he was entertaining to watch. And I learned how to make this, and I also learned how to make a salmon dish from him. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this potato and we're going to cut it like so. And then we're going to take our potato and turn it over like this. And we're just going to cut it like that. Nice thick cut potatoes. Okay, nice thick potatoes. So that's what it looks like. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put a little olive oil in there. We're going to make sure you put enough to cover up that whole potato. Want them nice and wet. And then you're going to add a couple of teaspoons, probably like a teaspoon and a half of sea salt. And then you okay? A dash of pepper. Yeah. And then we're going to add some rosemary. Add you a good amount. You want them really covered with that rosemary and that sea salt and olive oil. And that's all we're going to add to them. Now you could put onion and garlic and whatever you want. But this is all I add to them. And then we're going to take a piece of parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, that's all right. You can just use a rack or something or nothing at all. Just maybe make sure that, it's something your food won't stick to real easy because these do stick. And then we're going to take our potatoes. We're going to line them up just like this. And then throw them in a 400-degree oven for about 40 minutes or so. Halfway through cooking, make sure you flip them over. Okay, so now we're going to punch our dough down like you would do with bread or any other dough. Like so. Pull it out. Pull it out. We want to try to get 24 little balls out. So we're just going to pinch them off like so. And then we're going to fold them under like this. Just fold it under just like that. Put them in our greased cake pan. I put a little bit of olive oil in there. So that's 24 dinner rolls. You notice they're all touching, and you want them to do that to help them rise. So we're going to cover them and let them rise for another hour, and then we'll put them in the oven. Here's our dinner rolls after their second rise. We're going to pop them in the oven for about 12 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so these potatoes are halfway through their cooking time. We're just going to flip them over. Look how nice and brown they are. Looks so good. And we'll let them brown up on the other side. This is one of Vince's favorites. He's a big old potato head. He loves potatoes, and this is one of his favorite ways for me to make them. So pop them back in the oven for another like 30 minutes, and they should be done. Okay, our potatoes are done. We're going to pull them out of the oven now and check them out. Our nice, beautiful, crispy potatoes. Now, I will definitely put the recipe for all of this stuff down in the description below. So if you guys would like to try this, if you do try it, let me know how it turned out and if you liked it or not. Like I said before, you can season these potatoes any way you want. If you want to use vegetable oil or butter, I don't know how butter will turn out, but you could probably use a little melted butter and some salt and pepper and, leave it at that. And I'm sure they would be fantastic. I just kind of want to give you inspiration to try something maybe a little bit different that you've never tried before, but they're really good with the olive oil, sea salt, and rosemary. That's my favorite way to make them. But you do you, baby. You do you. Okay, our roasted chicken is done. It temped at the breast temped at about 170 and the thighs temped at like 190. All of the juices are clear, so I think it's ready to go. We'll let that chicken sit there and rest and let the juices absorb back into the meat. It took a total time of about an hour and a half to roast it. If you cook a bigger bird like a turkey, it might take a little bit longer. It should knock off maybe a half an hour or so, give or take, of your cooking time when you take out the backbone and separate the legs and the wings from the bird. It'll knock off your time a little bit. So make sure that if you do this for a turkey, that you just kind of watch it and make sure that it tempts. You know, this is just my recipe. You take this brine and make it your own. You can add whatever you want with it. It's just a different way to cook a bird, and it is very tasty. The meat comes out very tender, very juicy. The only thing is if you're looking for a really big, pretty bird to put on the table, then I guess this, recipe wouldn't be for you. But if you don't mind cutting it up, then give it a try and let me know. If you try it, let me know how it turned out for you and how you liked it. Our dinner rolls are now done, and I wish you guys could smell them. They smell so warm and yeasty and delicious. Let's cut open this chicken and see how wonderful it is. Here's a quarter, it's a leg and a thigh, and see how it looks. Done all the way through. Let's give it a taste. Oh wow. So good. Mmm. Yep. So juicy. The juice dripping down my chin. Here's one of our potatoes. Break it open. So tender. A nice coating. Sorry. A nice coating on the outside. And it's nice and soft on the inside. Delicious. Here is a little bit of that breast meat. Nice crunchy skin. Let's taste it. That is really good. When you brine it like that, all that flavor just soaks right into the meat. So good. Here's our dinner roll. Nice and fluffy. Give it a try. So good. Just melts in your mouth. Let's eat it with a bite of chicken. Man. Now you can whip you up a nice green salad or some green beans or Brussels sprouts or something to put on the side of this, and you have yourself a well-rounded meal. Well, that's all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope I inspired you to try something new. If I did, and you do try one of these recipes, leave me a comment below and let me know how it turned out and if you liked it or not. I'll leave the recipes in the description box below so that you guys can try them. Like I said, take these recipes and make them your own. You don't have to follow this recipe step by step if you don't want to. If you don't like rosemary, don't use rosemary. If you like rosemary and you like it a lot, use a little extra. If you'd rather use butter, then use butter. It's up to you. It's just an idea. It's just a base idea. Just something different. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.